Welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. I'm excited about this one, Mark. We have a great guest with us today, Michael Cortina, who's going to talk to us about his method and how he's helping veterans. This is going to be amazing. Can't wait to get into this with him. As always, I'm here with my partner, Mark. Mark, how you doing today?
Hey everyone, thanks for joining in. Get ready because we've got some great information. We're going to hear from Michael and how he's helping people, overcome their challenges, dealing with some of the mental challenges that they have. So, hey, I also want to remind everybody that we are growing, but still need your help paying it forward. So, in your network, some folks you may not be aware of, but some folks that you can help. So make sure that you share this and tag those that you might think might benefit from it.
Absolutely. Definitely help those that need helping. As always, we're putting this out through the Restream platform. So if you want to push this out as original content over your social media, hit us up with hashtag pairing and we'll tell you how to do it. It's not hard, super easy, comes out live over your social media. So you can comment and share it that way. Today, we got Michael Cortina, who is a PTSD and trauma resolution expert. He is a healer, national keynote speaker, trainer, and sought-after international authority on brain-based healing and mindset transformation work. Michael is the creator and developer of the Cortina Method, a brain-based healing methodology to resolve trauma. Fantastic method. On the little I read about it, Michael, I can't wait to hear more from you about how this whole thing works. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, and so thrilled to be here. Love the work that you guys are doing, and the audience that you're reaching. So I'm thrilled. I'm excited to be here.
Outstanding. So let's start with a little bit about you. What made you get into wanting to help people with PTSD and trauma resolution, go that route professionally, and what makes you want to give back to the veterans?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. So I started off in the field, and I'm traditionally trained as a therapist, as a licensed clinical social worker, licensed clinical addiction counselor, and spent many years, over a decade, doing some of the traditional models that I was taught to do in school, some of the talk therapy models, and just saw that, if you looked at the journal articles, I don't so much do that anymore, but I did a lot of it back then. The effectiveness rate of outpatient psychotherapy wasn't overwhelmingly impressive. And my practice was falling within those bounds. I was having some successes, nowhere near as many as I wanted for the people that I was serving. And then when there were successes, it took a long time, or it caused a lot of pain. People had to sort of relive a lot of horrific stuff. And we were going through like a rainforest worth of Kleenex in my office. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And so that led me into sort of researching and going to different places and studying up on some things that they don't teach you in school, to really specialize in on PTS and trauma. Regarding the veterans, your second question there, for me, I've always been very passionate and supportive of veterans. I truly believe that it's because of them that we get to have this conversation here this morning, that we get to pursue whatever it is we want to pursue in life. And so for me, to serve them, it's an honor, truly, to serve those who've served us.
That's awesome. And
Love it.
I know the community appreciates it. I mean, that's the fact that, people want to help this community is just absolutely amazing. Mark, you have a question?
No, I was saying that's great because, I run into people all the time. I mean, well, look, we've had nationally, like, people walking on the flag, kneeling during the anthem, et cetera, right? Like, not that I'm disagreeing with any of the principles behind it, but I like to use myself as an example. I wasn't even born in this country. I was born in Korea. I'm adopted. Grew up in Illinois, actually, outside of Chicago. Um, but I'm very patriotic, right? I wasn't even born here. I've served my country. I was in the, served as a medic in the Air Force. Put my time in is the way I look at it. And, I feel at times like I have more patriotism as a, really a foreign national, than a lot of the people that were born here. So I think it's great that you're doing that and that you have a passion for it. Thank you, Michael.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Having married into a Filipino family, and most of them are naturalized, there's a lot of patriotism there. And I'm not even sure I could pass the test that, that they take for the citizenship. So I'll count my blessings that I was born here. So let's talk about the Cortina method. First of all, why did you decide that you had to create your own way of doing things? I think you touched on a little bit there about some of the results you were seeing, but then tell us about the method. What's so special about it? What are you doing with it?
Yeah. So I was at a point in my career where I was actually going to pivot. I was going to get out of the field altogether because I wasn't real happy with the outcomes and the results and what was happening and some of the culture within the field. And so I started to pivot. I started to get into a different industry. I started to get into income property, rental property. And I remember one summer we picked up a duplex that was it was just a hot mess. I mean, as far as the living conditions, it was a train wreck. And we spent that whole summer putting work into it. And at the end of the summer, it was really, it was a beautiful, I mean, it wasn't Taj Mahal or anything, but it was a nice place. It was a very, I felt in good conscience I could let families live here now. And I remembered the condition before, the work we put into it over the summer, and then the condition afterwards. And I remembered, this is what I wanted in my clinical work. This is what I was looking for, to connect with somebody, spend a little bit of time with them, not months or years, a little bit of time with them and have this sort of dramatic transformation. And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me in working on that duplex. And so I started seeking all these different things out. And what I found was that there were some good things happening out there. There's some good stuff happening, a lot of great intent, a lot of people's heart absolutely in the right place, some good models and so forth. But there was always some loopholes. There was always some things that were sort of, well, what if somebody's dealing with this? What if this is what's going on with them? And there wasn't an answer. There wasn't a solution for that. And so that's what ultimately led into the development of the Cortina method. I've been on this sort of lifelong or career-long search to really bring the most effective and efficient model of healing for people who struggled with PTS and trauma. The Cortina method it's a brain-based healing methodology to resolve trauma. It's firmly rooted in neuroscience. There's a strong neuroscience base such that we can produce effective and efficient outcomes. There's no expectation, there's no prerequisite, there's no requirement that anybody has to relive or re-experience any pain in the process of getting pain from prior events resolved. So it's a much more gentle, uplifting, light approach. It's really about getting the brain, it's brain reprocessing and brain optimization. And the way I would define brain optimization is getting the brain to respond to life in the most enticing and optimal way possible, so that when the individual is done with the practitioner, when they're done with receiving the Cortina method, they are a changed, transformed human. That's the goal.
That is fantastic. And not reliving the trauma. That's amazing to me, because everything I've ever heard, even some of my own counseling sessions I've gone through for anger, you always wind up reliving it. And I got to tell the story to 8 different people. And it's like, all right, now I'm mad again.
Yes.
What are we doing here?
Yes, I mean that's exactly it. It's and what I liken that to is that actually strengthens the neural pathways of stuckness. That's how I look at that. What happens with repetition? You know, Michael Jordan takes 50,000 free throws. He's got an amazing shot, and the guy goes into the gym and he's repetition. He's building his bicep. Repetition strengthens things. So if we're going to hang out and repetitively talk about the problem and what's wrong and all the stuff that people have been through, it's in my opinion, it's strengthening the neural pathways of stuckness. It's doing about the exact opposite of the ultimate outcome that we want. So yeah, you're right on point.
I don't think I've
any,
ever met a doctor that talks like that. Go ahead, Mark.
Do you have any studies or can you speak maybe to a little bit of the effectiveness versus some of the more traditional like physiological approaches to like the example DoD takes in even the VA system?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for asking that. So, you know, I've seen, you know, effectiveness rates of what's commonly used out there. I'm going to try to moderate myself as I even mention this. It's called prolonged exposure. And it basically involves people reliving the worst moments of their life over and over and over and over again. I will say that in my estimation, it is antiquated and barbaric. And it's barbaric because there's a better way to do it now. We've learned more about how the brain works. And so with that too, now has come updated and more cutting edge intervention. People don't have to go through that. As far as effectiveness, we're seeing effectiveness rates in resolving trauma and PTS of about 88 to 90%. We're seeing
Wow.
that in as little as we're seeing that in as little as a single visit. Now, as far as the and this is something I always, you know, I used to think twice when talking about because it raises a lot of eyebrows. It's so different from what's out there that, you know, people would, you know, there's sometimes skepticism, healthy skepticism, which I would understand that. Sometimes there's other opinions about that. However, I've gotten to a place where I'm no longer going to just pad that punch or keep that in silence. That is what's happening. And that's what many veterans are giving, you know, testimonials about. That's their experience. So I will say that quite verbose and loud now. And as far as the effectiveness, we're not only getting the what in the traditional world is called client self-report. Basically, we're hearing back from the people that we serve, whether it's civilians in a private practice setting, veterans and the work that we're doing with veterans, all the above. We're hearing back from them about how, you know, whatever it was that they were addressing is resolved now. And we've gotten feedback 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year later. In addition to that, two other things. One is we have data, hard data evidence and the scientific evidence in the form of brain mapping. So we have an independent doctor. I'm not a doctor, by the way, but we have a doctor who is independent. I don't work for him. He doesn't work for me. And we've sent people to him to get brain mapping done. And what we see is he takes a baseline measure, a pre-treatment scan of the brain, and then the individual comes and gets treatment with the Cortina Method, and then goes back to the doctor to get a post-treatment brain scan. And those results, they're extraordinary. And the report that the doctor writes is I have so much gratitude to read those because we were seeing these results. We would hear back from the veterans and we saw how their lives were changing. But it is nice to have that hard data to support that now and to say, all right, this is the brain. It's their actual brain, and the before and after is dramatic. Lastly, there's the protocol I mentioned for the Cortina Method is firmly rooted in neuroscience. There's one particular part of the protocol that has with the neuroscience base where that piece has over 1,000 studies showing, that it's the real deal. So these are the pieces that we have in place in terms of, what we're seeing as far as evidence and outcomes and effectiveness.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that you have that data.
You can't even argue with those results. I mean, that's ridiculous, and I don't know why is this not mainstream? Why are we not all doing this?
I'm trying.
We got to get, we're doing it here. We got to get the word out, right?
I think we're trying to make a lot of connections, make a lot of inroads. Already working with one veteran organization, have 2 other veteran organizations now that are having us come out there to bring TCM. TCM is the acronym for the Cortina Method, TCM. So there's 2 other veteran organizations that here in 2020, and we're reaching out to some individuals in the VA. It's sometimes a slow process. It's not always as quick as I would like it, but any opportunity that I get to, I tell people, they say, where will you go and do this? Where will you train people? Because I train other practitioners how to do this work. Where will you train people? Where will you go? I say, listen, if we have a critical mass, you could send me anywhere. And oops, I think my internet connection is, are we okay now here?
You've broken up once or twice throughout the discussion, but we still got you.
Okay, very good. Thanks. So I tell people I'll go anywhere. I will go and that's what's happened with these veteran organizations. We're going to different states now this year. And so I don't have a hard answer for you there, Shawn, but boy, if we could get this out to be the mainstream, that's the dream.
So did you ever hear or check out Mission Daybreak? Are you familiar with that?
Mission Daybreak. I'm familiar with it, but
it's something the VA put out last year, almost a year ago now, about the $20 million challenge designed to help VAs develop new suicide prevention strategies for veterans.
Yes.
I think something like this could be one of those things that is huge to help it, and especially I don't know anything about head scans because you're not a doctor. I'm definitely not a doctor, but I've seen some of that stuff and read a little bit about that, and it looks phenomenal. So you're getting those kinds of results. I think this is something that definitely the VA should be aware of, and you're trying to set off my anger talking about the VA and their process. We won't discuss that.
we might have to do a quick TCM right here, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the suicide prevention piece of that, I have heard of Mission Daybreak. Yeah, that was a newer initiative that they came out, and they were looking to partner with. They're looking to partner with people and organizations outside of the VA system to try to have more resources and help the veterans. Yes.
So real excited to hear that you're partnering with more organizations. When we first talked, you had mentioned Operation Warrior Resolution. And we're going to have Kendrick on the show here, I think in about a month, to hear more about that for sure. But tell us a little bit about Operation Warrior Resolution and how the TCM is a part of that and helping people. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So some years back, Kendra Simpkins, she's the CEO of Operation Warrior Resolution. She was doing a nationwide search, looking for people who were practicing models that were outside the box, were not models that weren't being practiced in the VA and other systems, because she wanted only the best, the absolute best for the veterans that she planned to serve in her program. And you might hear her say when you talk to her, her part of her mission is to make sure that not another veteran has to sit in front of a mental health practitioner and have it had been a waste of time
God
or
bless her.
something. Yeah. So she, I, at the time she was doing a nationwide search, and at that time she was looking for 3 people. And very fortunately, I was one of those 3 that got tapped on the shoulder. And she said, "We'd like you to come and do this work down here." And I said, "I'm there. It's done. I'm there." And so fast forward, now there's been a lot of expansion, and we've trained more practitioners in the Cortina method. And so now Operation Warrior Resolution, it's their exclusive model to healing, to brain-based healing for the veterans that they serve. All the veterans coming through the retreats, they get 2 TCM visits. We also provide TCM, the Cortina method, to the veterans as a standalone service outside of the retreat setting, because you can't get everybody into a retreat. There's volume and head count and so forth. And so we saw the value in what was happening with TCM as a standalone service outside of the retreat setting. And so now we also offer that, and this can be done both in person and remotely.
No.
So it really expands our reach. Yeah, TCM has the same effectiveness. We found the same effectiveness, whether it's an in-person visit or remote. So we can serve veterans all over the country without any obstacle or barrier because of the capacity to do it in this kind of environment, a remote, a Zoom type of environment. And so we hear from the veterans when they come outside, when they come on the other side of our services with OWR, Operation Warrior Resolution, OWR. And we hear probably about one of the things that I have the most gratitude for, and is very, keeps me very hungry, keeps my fire going, is when we hear from the veterans and we hear this not only changed my life, it saved my life.
Wow.
And I can't tell you, there's a number of times where we've heard from the veterans. They said, "I've tried all the things. I've done talk therapy. I've done the medications. I've done, on and on. I've done all the things. If this didn't work, I was checking out." And so, yeah, man, it just fuels me. It fuels me to keep going. We see the outcomes. We see what's happening, how it changes their lives. And that's what Operation Warrior Resolution is committed to, in bringing the Cortina method and their programming. And it's what I'm more than delighted to commit to in return and continue working with them.
The fact that you can do this remotely is amazing. Because I've had a few virtual calls or phone calls with doctors, and I felt that they were a waste of time. So, and you said around the country, right? You can do around the world. I mean, we got, soldiers and service members around the world at different locations. As long as they can get on a Zoom, they could do this. That's huge. The impact that you can have.
Yes, for sure. And we've already started to do it internationally. I've worked with a number of people in different countries. I tell people this, particularly trainees, I say, listen, I can't make this up, because you're going to see somebody get a whole bunch of years of trauma resolved. You're going to see us do it in a way that is very light. There might even be a lot of laughter happening. Not that there's always laughter, but there's laughter oftentimes. And I say, and I can't make this up, because with people's consent, with their permission, I've audio videotaped a lot of the work that I've done. And I said, so I can't even make it up. You're going to see it happen. You're going to see this person come in, say, here's what's up, here's what's going on. They're going to go through the process, and at the end, you're going to see it's going to be resolved. And I'm quick to share. It's nothing I need to make up, because it's literally on film, and as a trainee, you'll see that.
So you get people who show up and tell you after the fact that this was it. This was the last thing I was trying. I'm sitting here thinking of all the times I've gone to anger management or talked to a chaplain or whatever throughout my career. And first thought is, as a salty veteran sitting here going, no, he's making this up. That this does not do what he says it does. There's no way So how often do you have to deal with that? Like when people come to the retreat or do something over Zoom, how do you have to have a little conversation? Do you get some negativity up front and then just amazement at the end result?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly we see a lot of it. The veterans, Kendra at the beginning of the retreat will say, you guys are not going to be the same person walking out those doors as you are here sitting here now. On opening night, she'll say this. Some of the veterans are kind of look at us, one eyebrow raised, like, yeah, how the hell is this going to happen over just a couple of days? But inevitably, and we hear from them at our final closing group, we hear from them. They say, you said things were going to be changed and things were going to be different, and they are different. You said this stuff wasn't going to bother me anymore, and it's resolved. So, yeah, that is a thing, that shows up sometimes. And really, one of the things I would say to that, Shawn, and so I'm glad you brought that up because some of your listeners may have that. So here's what I would say to that. When I'm working with somebody where if that's sort of a big thing, like in the room, before we move forward, I say, listen, what you're talking about right now, what you're referencing is belief. You're not sure that you believe that this can work. I'm okay with that. I don't need you to believe it. Basically, are you okay with experiencing life in a way that's going to be so much more productive, beneficial, and desirable? Are you okay with that? And they say, well, yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm like, all right, that's all I need. I don't need you to believe it. And as long as you're okay with it, let's move forward.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm like speechless. I mean, just the fact that, you don't have to believe me. I'm not going to force you to, I'm not going to ram this down your throat. It's not a military style waterboarding, and then the end results are just going to change your life. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, it resonates with me. I mean, I respect it. It's like, it's the first time they're ever meeting me. Why would they trust or believe anything that I'm going to say just at face value? Like, I'm good with that. It's totally okay. And again, sort of in the design of this thing in the neuroscience base, it's like it removes that obstacle. Whereas maybe in traditional therapy, the therapist might spend the next 3 months trying to prove themselves or gain some trust with the person or develop a relation. It's like, no, we don't need to do any of that. If you don't believe it, that's okay. I'm cool with that. Just are you okay with engaging in the process, and are you okay with life being better? If the answer to that is yes, let's move.
Brilliant. Disarm them right up front and then help them without them knowing it. I love it. So we're getting down to the end here, Michael. Phenomenal. The TCM just sounds amazing. I applaud you for developing it and the results you've had, really helping our community. And I hope this episode, along with the other organizations you're working with, we help to spread the word and get more people working with your method, because we definitely need that. As we close, though, is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, thank you. I so appreciate you having me on and getting this to get out there. What I would leave the audience with is, if this sounds too good to be true, if this sounds like a bunch of hogwash, ask yourself this: what have you got to lose? Nobody has ever gotten worse from TCM. The absolute worst case scenario is that it doesn't work. That's your worst case scenario, is that it doesn't work. And so there's only upside potential. So if you're interested and you're saying, yes, I want this, great, right on. If you're thinking, what have you got to lose? There's only upside potential. That's what I would say.
Awesome. And I know I've left the anger management more angry sometimes than when I walked in. So that's a heck of an upside. Mark, you got any closing comments?
Man, I'm just, really impressed with what you're doing. You're making, just the results are, again, just staggering. And, let's do our part to help get this word out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Michael, for joining us today, and thank everybody for tuning in. to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.